What we've discovered initially way back in 2016, we had started a pitting program of 164 pits, 2 meters deep. And out of the 164, only 9 did not have gold. I was driving with our geologist, Paul Sargent at the time, and he says, stop. We stopped and we sampled 18 channel sampling, 18 meters across, came back at 4.6 grams per ton. So we said, holy cow, we need to change the focus.
All right, everybody, welcome back to The Next Big Rush. I am Fabi, and I have here with me Ed, who is the man behind Kobo. Now, Kobo, you might have heard of, is this hot company that is active in Côte d'Ivoire. They have really interesting geology, but to me, most importantly, they're in an area of the world where you can get stuff done quickly, and it's right by a mine, which to me ticks lots of boxes. I've had the pleasure of talking to management on different occasions, and these guys have fought tooth and nail to get this project going, and now it's going. So Ed, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Fabi. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Kobo, because I think I've asked you guys this before, but to the people who are watching this for the first time and are hearing about Kobo and, you know, how you're exploring for gold in Côte d'Ivoire, in West Africa, you could have picked a bunch of different jurisdictions, a bunch of different projects. I'm sure that what comes across your desk is a lot better than what comes across my desk, because you've been in the business for so long. Why this area specifically?
Area, you mean in terms of country,
jurisdiction and project.
Well, if people don't know much about the history of Côte d'Ivoire, obviously it was colonized by the French. 2, it became an independent country in 1962. And 3, the president back then, Houphouët-Boigny, felt that his country's growth was through agriculture and essentially the production of cocoa, because they are the world's #1 producer with now 40% of the production. So he didn't believe much into the mineral side, the exploration side, although Côte d'Ivoire is extremely rich on that front. So the government that came into power in 2011 decided that they were going to focus on developing the exploration side, because they felt that that could be their second economic engine of the country. So I think in 2014, they revamped the mining code in order to attract foreign capital, because they were really way behind. I would say 25 plus years behind Ghana, Burkina, Mali, etc. in terms of exploration. And Côte d'Ivoire hosts 35% of the Birimian formation of West Africa.
They have good rocks, but they didn't have a code.
A total disconnect, and at the same time, a huge opportunity. So that's what we saw, and we decided to come in. Now, we came into the country with I would say tippy-toeing, because we were awarded semi-industrial permits under the new code way back in the fall of 2015. We were the first guys to be awarded that type of permit. So for someone who doesn't understand, you have the large research permits, which can go up to 400 square kilometers, the semi-industrial permits, which allow you to operate immediately. It's like operating a quarry, but you're limited to 50 hectares, 30 meters in depth, and so on. And you can't dynamite, you can't drill, and you can't use chemicals. So, and then the third one was the artisanal mining. So we felt we got those, and we happened to get them right at the Kassou area in the village, and happened to be next door to an existing mine. So, and the whole area where we were was dedicated to the semi-industrial operation. So that's how it came about. And so in 2016, when we started exploring in January, we made a bit of some discoveries, and then we sat down with the government and said, look, this zone, this area is not conducive to semi-industrial operations because we were in the volcanic package per se. And we said, this is definitely a large research permit zone. And it took us about 6-7 months to convince them. And they agreed. And we were allowed to apply for it. And we applied in the fall of 2016 and got it in 2019 and started to work on it right after COVID. So that's how it came about.
I've met a few people, and when I say a few, I probably mean a few hundred people in this business. And when I find somebody that is willing to go to the authorities to convince them of something other than whatever it is that they have in mind, you gain my instant respect, because this is not an easy feat for sure. And I mean, in order to do that, you got to look at the rocks and say, this is worth fighting for. This is worth doing the work. So what have you found so far? And then we can go into your latest drill results as well.
Right. So what we've discovered initially way back in 2016, we had started a pitting program of 164 pits, 2 meters deep. And out of the 164, only 9 did not have gold. So we said, oh,
wow,
there's something is happening here, because we were finding fine gold and coarse gold. And we said it had to come from somewhere. So we got on, there's a road that's built in the flank of the mountain, because basically the permit is in the volcanic package on a mountainside close to a lake. And there's a road between 2 small towns, and it's built in the flank. So there's a rock face that's open to eyesight. So I was driving with our geologist, Paul Sargent at the time, and he says, stop. We stopped and we sampled 18 channel sampling, 18 meters across, came back at 4.6 grams per ton. So we said, holy cow, we need to change the focus. So we did. And then in 2020, when we started exploring, we did a mag survey, then we embarked on a geochem program, and subsequently started drilling right after becoming public in March 23. So today, what we've uncovered is 3 main zones of mineralization. One being called the road cut zone, where we had made that discovery I just talked about. And that zone is probably 1.8 kilometers or 1.6 kilometers in strike extent. And then we subsequently made another discovery, which is called the Jagger zone. That's another 1.6 or almost 1.8 kilometers as well. And then there's a third zone called the Katy zone, which is about 1 kilometer, and which sits a bit to the south of the Jagger zone. We have done less work there today, but nonetheless, this is an area that gives us almost 5 kilometers of strike extent. So there's a huge playground, and we've now up to today started exploring a bit more on the south side, southeast side of the license, away from Jagger, when we call it Jagger South. And we're also doing some exploration on the west side of the license, which is closer to the Bandama River. So we're finding potential new targets to drill. So up to today, as we are speaking, we've drilled approximately 32,000 meters. I would say 6,000 in RC drilling, and the rest 26,000 in diamond drilling. So we're working towards our first MRE in Q1 of next year, we hope. So that's how prolific it's been. The results have been pretty good.
That was going to be, my question of when is a resource coming. I was just reading through, the news releases that you guys put out recently in October, early and late October as well. 17 meters at 3.87 grams per ton, defining, the higher grade gold mineralization. And there's also 10 meters at 2.5 and 13 meters at 1.49 grams per ton gold as well. So How would you go about it? Is the idea that you come out with a resource, next year, and you try to, position yourself as a takeout target? Are you going to try to expand, the area that you guys are drilling, or is it more about just infill drilling, better defining what you guys already have? Because from your description, Ed, seems like your strike length would give you a very, very nice resource, if you can prove it out. What's the strategy here so far?
Well, initially, when we started the company, we looked at ourselves and we said, who are we? Are we mine builders or mine finders? And we said, we're mine finders. And the other thing that, the audience needs to know is we're 9 kilometers, give or take, away from an existing mine. And they spent $450 million before they did their first pour. So, it makes no sense, economically speaking, to a certain degree, if you're going to find anywhere between 500,000 to 1 million ounces, to say, hey, I'm going to build my own. It's right next door. So what we're doing is basically head frame exploration. So the company was initially built around the idea that this would be a flip. But as we're progressing, factors change, events change, and if we're successful in uncovering more and more, then, the game can change as well. So right now, yes, we're focused on trying to get out the MRE in Q1 or so next year. And we're there to find as many as surface mineable ounces as we can, because it's the proper thing to do. And for the shareholders, it makes no sense to go raise 50 to 100 million to $200 million to try and build something. It's already there next door. The other thing is the mine next door has also a final date, like all mines do. Mm-hmm. And they have several pits, but their main pit, the CMA pit, is pretty close, if not already, all consumed. They've just been awarded about a month or so ago the first underground mining license of the country. They're going to be going after 350,000 ounces, give or take, on an average grade of 3.5 grams per ton. They're spending 113 million USD to get there in terms of infrastructure. Mm-hmm. But they're also going to be mining the other pits at a lower grade, and also the stockpile. So we believe, that time is playing in our favor.
For sure. I mean,
the longer we can stretch this thing out, the better it is for us. And hopefully gold stays at the price it is, or goes higher. It'll be even better for our shareholders.
For sure. And I mean, economically speaking, if you already have built the mine next door, I mean, geologically speaking, we are 5 kilometers, which is, it's a dot next to a dot on the map.
By the crow fly, literally 5 kilometers.
It's nothing. So literally next door, and you're probably, I don't want to say steal. Steal is a strong word, but you probably just caught the claims that they should have caught in the first place and continued the work that they didn't do.
Well, it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that, because when the exploration manager that drilled the Yaouré site oversaw 160,000 meters of drilling, now works with us. And before it was purchased, it was called Amara Mining, and they used to live in the Kossou town. And some of the guys used to mountain bike on that road, and no one ever thought about sampling.
It was right there under their noses,
Right
and
there.
and here you come and get the good land. But obviously, you had to fight for it and rezone it. So, you
Yes,
know,
yes,
it
that's right.
does. You forced value, added value by forcing it yourselves, which is something that most
Right,
people are not willing
right.
to do. So you get that benefit as well. So you just mentioned team there. What is the current team like? And do you have, a strong enough bench in order to, build up this resource so that it becomes, sellable, whether that's going to be, I don't know, does it reach PEA stage even depending on market conditions? Maybe so, maybe not. Or will you guys have to change a few bits around so that you're better prepared for, the eventual takeout?
Well, in terms we won't reach PEA stage obviously next year, being a first MRE, but parts of the resource will probably be indicated and others inferred, because we're getting a better handle on the structure itself, and the positioning of the mineralization and the down dip, and so on. So that we're working on. In terms of the bench, I feel, yes, that we're very well positioned. Um, Paul Sargent is a geologist that has 40 plus years experience in the business. Chris Picken, who was the exploration manager next door, is 35 to 40 years of experience. The structural geologist that worked at ERA for 7 years is a consultant to us now. He's a PhD geologist in structural geology. We've got some key board members like Brian Scott, was a former B2 guy for all of his career, is on our board. And Brian Scott has seen a lot of West African, resource models throughout his career. And we have Jeff Hussey of Osisko Mining, but also we've gathered a recent acquisition, if I could use the term, in the name of Clay Postlethwaite. Clay was the executive business development manager of Newmont for Africa. And Clay is also a PhD structural geologist. So Clay came on board at the end of August with us. We're happy to have him on board and get his insight going forward. And so I think, in terms of the strength of the bench, to get this resource to a finite number and prepared, we do have the appropriate people to deliver the goodies on time.
Okay, so let's talk about the stuff that nobody wants to talk about, which is the stuff that can kill a project, in my opinion, that a lot of companies unfortunately overlook. But I know that you guys have, taken good care of this side of things, to the best of my knowledge from what I see here on your website and the content that you guys put out. What are local relations like? And what kind of work do you guys do, with the local communities in order to maybe educate them if necessary? But I mean, if there's a mine next door, maybe there's already an understanding of the value that mining brings to the area. What kind of work
Yeah,
have you guys done so far?
that's a very good question. I mean, the locals sometimes will be confused between exploration and exploitation. And if they're confused on the wrong side of the fence, it can go wrong for you. So we have taken the time over the years of explaining the local farmers, the communities, the local authorities of what our intentions were, initially. So in order to do the least possible disruption, because there are plantations, we're exploring among plantations. But once we got going in terms of our geochem program, and we started initially manually trenching to disrupt the least possible. So, and that would allow us to hire local workers as well. So we gave back to the community that way. But once this thing started to get serious, we needed to go a bit bigger and use bulldozers and excavators, etc. We sat down with the community and we said, "This is what we're going to do. We're going to damage some of your plantations, etc." But the government and the Ministry of Agriculture have a mechanism in place for the compensation, and the amounts per different type of plantation or type of tree is already set in a table. So we have the representative of the agricultural department come along and say, "Look, this is the area where we intend to be active. Please go do your evaluation." He comes back, comes out with a number, and we said, "Okay, that's the amount that we have to pay. We pay." So we've done this, I think, 4 or 5 times now, where the impacted planters and farmers have been compensated, and so far everyone has been happy. The other thing that we did, and we started that last year, we called it. We sponsored a football match between the two towns of the town of Kousou and Bokobo. And by the way, the name Kobo comes from the first 2 letters of Kousou and the first 2 letters of Bokobo. So it's kind of giving back to the community in a certain way. But nonetheless, we started what we call the Kobo Cup. So we bought the jerseys and we equipped the players and we organized this match. And it was such a success that the sous-préfet asked us to repeat it. And so we're going to be repeating it in less than 2 weeks on November 29th. But this time is 3 teams from the Kousou, Bokobo, and the Angose village, where again, we're supplying the jerseys for all the teams. We partnered with an African entity that will be supplying the football shoes and another party. So we're inviting some officials, the Canadian ambassadors coming along as well. So we intend to, do this on an annual basis, so that it's a kind of giving back to the community to a certain degree. So that's what we've organized, and we think it has a definite impact, a positive impact. They see that the company is involved and is willing to invest in the people.
For sure. Maybe it's the Brazilian in me, but I love that idea, by the way. And I think that investors kind of take it for granted. The little things that obviously the fact that you guys are coming into agricultural land and there is a way for them to receive back what you're disrupting in order to, at the end of the day, improve the living conditions long term of their community should a mine become the reality for them. But until you get there are costs involved, etc. But also just doing something fun, right? Just associating your company, your brand with something that people can remember and smile about. I think that mining companies don't do enough of that, to be completely honest. And I think that we should try to put a little bit more fun in this business, because people out there that are affected by mining in their local communities, they want to think positively about the people who are coming in and doing work. And so if we can do more of that, the better. So this is an idea for mining companies everywhere that it makes sense to do so.
Definitely.
Let's get more into sports and local interests.
The local laborers, we try to hire 50% from one side, 50% from the other town, just so that everybody gets a fair share at it. So that's what we've been doing. And we just last fall established our local camp on site with the blessing of the village of Bokobo. We cleared an area. We brought water to there and so on. So if and when we do leave, some of the infrastructure can be handed back to these people.
Yeah, awesome. Cool stuff. Ed, thank you so much. What can people expect next for the next, call it 6 months or so of Kobo? What kind of news flow are we getting from you guys?
Well, like I said, we're drilling right now. We've been drilling since September 4th. So normally news flow on Kasuh is about every 3 weeks, give or take. So I think there's a press release should be coming out next week on that. The other thing that we're doing is we have another license in the east called Kobe. We're doing grassroots exploration there. We've done a lot of geochem. We're trenching. It's starting to unfold nicely. We think that we're trying to identify drill targets for within the next two months or so. So that is definitely something positive for us going forward. And the other thing is we've to prepare the company for the next phase. The next phase is when we monetize Kasuh afterwards. So we need a fallback position, and that's why we've been picking up ground elsewhere in the country and preparing ourselves for that fallback position in areas where we think should be prolific in terms of mineralization as well. So that's what we're doing, and that's what we're busy doing in the weeks and months to come. At the same time that we're there getting the MRE out for Q1 of 2026 on Kasuh.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to all of that. And I just love it that, unfortunately, you guys had to go through a lot in order to get started. But once you got started, it's like, okay, drilling, getting results, and just going through all the different steps that you have to go through to delineate a resource. Like Q1 sounds like it's just around the corner. There are a lot of companies that would love to be able to say, Q1, but they won't be able to because of weather or because their labs are completely backed up, and where they are jurisdiction wise just does not allow for such a quick turnaround. So I'm a fan of that. I will be watching the news from Kobo, and I suggest that everybody who watches my channel adds it to their watch list at a bare minimum. These guys are like some of the most obvious takeout candidates I have seen. Great jurisdiction, good geology, just plain and simple. Like, this is not going to be on the market for long, but this is not financial advice. I'm biased, so don't listen to anything I say. But if you had listened to anything I said in the last couple of years, you would have made a lot of money. So maybe I'll leave it at that.
There you go.
And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
I'll catch up with you very soon. Take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.